The argument about the porosity of Nigeria's borders is raged for many years. The porosity of the borders allows for the proliferation of small arms and light weapons, enabling militant groups and criminal organizations to easily acquire guns. Now, this has led to increased violence and crime rate across the country, compounded by a weak security system, making it challenging for law enforcement agencies to track and monitor movement across the borders. Now, joining me to discuss this is Roland Stockton, is the Regional Director of TRAZ Intelligence and Security Solutions Limited. He joins virtually. Thank you for your time.
Hi.
Great.
Roland, nice to meet you.
Great. Let me start by reading a part of the speech of the governor of Borno State, Babangana Zulum, at a recent press briefing as regards insecurity in that part of Nigeria and what might be the possible causes. Now, part of the things he said is that ISWAP and Boko Haram are terrorists getting support internationally. Looking at our porous borders, many infiltrated into the country through the Sahel. If the Sahel is not secured, the entire Nigeria will never be secured. End of quote. How porous, let me start by asking, is the Nigerian border? How porous are our borders?
There is no such thing as a 100% secure border. And if we look at the lessons from history, for example, we go back a long way to the Great Wall of China to stop the Mongol invaders. It served a purpose, but basically the cost of the Great Wall of China, the effect on the Chinese economy of the day was catastrophic, and it failed in many ways to do what it was meant to do. If we come a little bit more forward in time to World War II, the French built the Maginot Line, a very impressive defensive system, but of course where they made the mistake is it stopped at the French border, and the Germans, with their philosophy of blitzkrieg, they just went through Belgium and came round the back. So that lots of lessons to be learned there. And of course, if we go forward now to the tragic events of October the 7th, where the Israelis again making similar mistakes and not listening to the people on the ground, they thought they had a impregnable border, and sadly, as that day unfolded, we saw that it was not the case. Now, having said that no border is impregnable, of course, that does not mean that we should just sit back and not do anything, because what we need to do, we need to make life as difficult. We need to get in the mindset of those who would seek to do us harm and cause them disruption, to really interfere with their planning and operations. And of course, there are ways to do this, to make it so difficult for them to operate that they would be inclined not to. And of course, these aspects of physical security, delay, detect, and so on and so forth, should be implemented to stop, firstly, their intelligence gathering, to disrupt their lines of communication, to stop the arms flow, and also to deal with not only the underlying issues of the terrorist threat, but when I read your topic for this subject, it is the question of borders and security. And of course, a border can be something physical on the ground, of course it can, but also we have to look at the other aspects of the border, for example, cybersecurity.
Okay, before we get to that,
Nigeria, for example.
Before we get to that, I mean, just to give it a bit of, what I call it, context right now. You said that there is no border that is 100% secure, but in many advanced climes, they seem to get it right to a certain percentage, where before you even get into the country, as you cross, they're able to profile you or detect, I mean, maybe through the use of technology and all of that, But in the case of Nigeria, many African countries, particularly Nigeria, I mean, this is a governor of a state crying out and saying, look, our borders seem so porous that arms come in, militants just stroll in and out. Where are we not getting it right?
Yes, yes. There is a military concept. It's called IPB. What is IPB? IPB is the intelligence preparation of the battlefield. And you can cross this over to internal security and police actions. And what you need to do is those people who are trained in the intricacies of IPB, you look at your terrain and you see, well, firstly, where are the entry points? Where are the holes in the border, the lines of communication, where people can enter or leave the country? And where are those areas where it is impossible to enter the country? And then you look at the resources you have and you look at these particular areas, and that is where you must focus your attention. So in the first instance, what really needs to be done is a in-depth terrain analysis of those areas where people can come into the country. It could be at airports, and of course, the airlines, they always send a list of the people flying on the planes to the authorities well in advance. They can be checked by customs and the police and internal security agencies. Likewise, ports should have a similar setup. But when you're coming to your border crossing, it's where do we, it's a bit of a pun, where do we draw the line? Because the indigenous population on either side of the border may be from the same ethnic group. And what you do not want to do is spread division amongst the local community, but what you need to do is to engage with the local community to foster a culture, a security culture within them, and to use them as one of your first lines of defense, and also to make sure that your assets are employed in a robust and flexible way. So the first thing is intelligence gathering. I would then take it a stage further. And please.
Okay, sorry I had to, of course, interrupt your line of thought, but we need to go on a quick break. When we return, we'll definitely dig more into this topic. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television, and of course we are talking about the security situation in Nigeria. Joining the conversation right now is Temitope Olodo. Is a security and intelligence expert. He joins virtually. Thank you for your time. Temitope, let me start by asking you how vulnerable is Nigeria? Because I'm going back to the statement of the governor of Borno State, where he made reference to the Sahel, saying that if the Sahel is not secured, the entire Nigeria will never be secured.
Of course, he is partially right, because we've not seen any movement that will make you believe that we have a serious government that is taking border security quite seriously. What do I mean by that? Very simply, when the issue of the attack in Benue and even Plateau happened, both the chief security officers in those two respective states highlighted that they believe from intelligence gathered, which is not intelligence gathered by themselves, by organ of the state, DSS, Nigerian police, and other sister agencies, that the individuals involved might look like me or you, but they actually don't look Nigerian. What you will have expected is that, the security infrastructure of the country will have been thrown into that environment, especially when they made it very clear that those individuals are not Nigerians. So what I would have been expecting was that some of the visitors that would have been visiting that particular area for site analysis, just like my good brother mentioned earlier before I joined the program, will have been the Border Security Immigration Service and the DSS. Why? Because if there are aliens, we use that word alien in Nigeria, which means illegal immigrants. If there were illegal immigrants who are frequently traveling between Nigeria and other countries bordering us, because we have 17 states that are bordering international, that have borders with 4 countries. And when you look and you do your analysis, you find out that some of those countries are the culprits in these challenges that we have.
But do you also think, I'm sorry to interrupt your flow,
Yeah.
but do you also think that Nigeria has the capacity to effectively take on this fight, on this challenge, in terms of manpower, equipment, resources, to take on these terrorists, these militant groups? Because information also has it, and even attacks that have been witnessed has it, that these people have sophisticated weapons. They're pretty much trained themselves, even though they appear ragtag.
The question we need to ask is, what is their numbers? Nigeria today could recruit up to 1 million Nigerian youths and even ex-servicemen that are reservists. You can overwhelm those individuals very quickly. And even more importantly, and my colleague will have highlighted it earlier, we could shut the border against those people. So if we know, for example, I know the governor said we don't want any cattle bearing in the evening, we don't want movement in the evening and things like that. But the government said, the federal government could close the border against Cameroon in that particular area where we have challenges. We've closed it where we thought we are smuggling from Lagos into Badagry and the others. It was closed. So you could close the border against those people. But more importantly, as we speak, the NIN, which is the way in which you can identify Nigerians, we know that a lot of foreigners from those countries bordering us were getting it. What has Nigerian government done to ensure that people are well documented in those areas? So the ones that are Nigerians, the ones that are not Nigerians are not Nigerians. And the bottom line is that we now have hostile countries, whether you like it or not. Those countries, some of them in the Sahel, who currently are not even part of the ECOWAS, and going their own way with the Russians. We saw what happened on the streets of Nigeria, where Russian flags was being used in parades, and we know that happened initially in Niger and the others where they were toppled, where the government were toppled, and yet we are allowing that in our country. We know that these countries bordering us, their human index of poverty level is at a level that does not even compare with Nigeria. Yet we want to play big brother and allow them to export terrorism into our country. We need to become our own border skipper. We need to start taking care of our own people.
Right.
And the first thing to do is to close the border against those specific areas where we believe that the threat to the Nigerian country, Nigeria is coming from.
All right.
Let me remind some of your viewers, there was a time that I think it was Niger or Chad, their plane flew into the Nigerian territory without us knowing, saying that they were pursuing terrorists into Nigerian territory. And we couldn't do anything. They even came in and went out. So we have a problem and we are not facing it. And let me give you a political prophecy.
Okay.
I don't want to be a prophet of doom, but I'll tell you that if we do not resolve this issue within the next 10 years, we are going to have a foreigner being the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Sorry. Are you saying that if Nigeria doesn't resolve its security situation, particularly as it has to do with porous borders, we might have a foreign person as president? How would that happen?
There's no doubt in my mind.
I mean, for many viewers at home, they'll be wondering how that will play out.
Oh, we have people that are moving from Niger into Sokoto, into Kebbi State, into Akwa Ibom area from Cameroon, and you can't even tell if they are Nigerians or they are not Nigerians. There are a lot of people that have Nigerian passport as we speak until this new, what they call it, new Interior Minister came in, Minister of Interior came in to start trying to change the passport and make it more digital. Nigerian passport was easy to get before by foreigners, whether you like it or not, whether you want to accept it. There were so many people in the United Kingdom that carried Nigerian passport that you know they were not Nigerians. I know Nigerians when I see them. And you could see some of these people.
Did you just say, sorry, I'm going to dwell with you on this. Did you just say that there are so many people in the UK that are not Nigerians that are carrying Nigerian passports?
In the past, there were. There were a lot of people, and there were a lot of people that could buy Nigerian passport in those days. Unlike now, when everything is digitalized.
Okay.
And we must give it to the Interior Minister who has come in to change things. But regardless of that, people are still coming in from Benin. People are still coming in through our borders without carrying any passport. And they can come in and reside in the country freely.
All right,
so we need to review this.
Okay.
To review our approach to the Porous border, which is more than 1,400, of course.
Okay, Temitope, thank you so much. But before we go, let me come back to Roland. Roland, some of the recommendations by even politicians and some, what I call it, opinion molders in the country is saying that, look, one solution to insecurity in Nigeria is self-defense. Private citizens having some level of access to arms to defend themselves as the first point of contact. I mean, in 30 seconds, do you think that is a solution? I think we, of course, are having a bit of connectivity issues with Roland. Let me take the question to Temitope, 30 seconds. Do you think that self-defense is the way to go?
To agree with you, I don't think so, because we have 500 million weapons flowing across borders, and 70% of them are said to be in Nigeria. Can you imagine what would then happen in a country where they can't, even the policemen are selling weapons, to armed robbers, and there are so many conflict entrepreneurs out there? I don't think it's the best way. I think we need to just reinforce our security within the country. We need to have a better containment strategy. But, like I said earlier, we need to do something about our porous border, otherwise we're going to have a foreign person leading Nigeria very soon as the president.
I mean, that's a very, very worrisome thing to think about. But I'd like to say a big thank you so much. Thank you for your time on the program tonight. Temitope Olodo is, of course, a security and intelligence expert. And also many thanks to Roland Stockton, who, of course, joined earlier. It's been a pleasure. Once again, gentlemen, thank you for your time.